Welcome to the second half of 325. Left off on step 20. We have our scan done. We have our critical vulnerability pro FTPD right here. This is our target for this lesson. So we can select the vulnerabilities tab. I think what we had to do in step 21. And here we are in it. And we saw what it had so far. I'm already done, but this is the one we're looking for. See a critical vulnerability related to pro FTPD. If not, wait till the scan finds it. Save a screenshot of the vulnerabilities page. Does that include the first few entries? Okay, so maybe you want to screenshot this. I don't I don't need it for anywhere else in the lesson, so I'm not going to bother. Select the Pro FTP vulnerability and save a screenshot of its details. So click in here. Yeah. So if you click this, you probably want these details right here. And you're probably going to need this later. Um, or it's weird because I can't fit it in one page, but you're going to need some of this information. We're also going to download it too, and you're going to need some information over here. I don't know if you need this stuff. So you might need this. Okay, but there's the information. Save it if you need it. I'm going to say I don't need it. Use your screenshot. Review the details of the Pro FTP plugin. So use the screenshot. So let's answer in 24. What is the service and software version exploited in the vulnerability? So the service, let's look this up. What do we find in here? Service and software version. Now I think I know what it is. The service is but what does it say on here? Your service should be it's FTP or it's a TCP service, right? And the vulnerability is pro FTPD. So I don't know where it says that though. I was having a hard time figuring that one out. Where it says that specific information on here, actually. So I'm going to tell you the exploit is going to be pro FTPD and version is 135 right here. And it's an FTP service. So that's what I would put in there for what is the service and software version. Pro FTP Pro FTPD 135, and it's an FTP exploit. That's what's being exploited there. I know, but the information is kind of hard to find in here. I don't remember where I saw it because I did the lesson before. But well, if you remember from before, we found if our other information when we looked at the version of FTP that was saved. We're actually going to reference this later in this lesson. But if you go back to, there were some descriptions of these services that we did, I think, in a previous lesson. I don't have saved on here. But we know that it's FTP. I mean, it had the version information. I think we might have done it in the first half of this lesson today. Anyways, moving on. So what ports and protocols are affected? So the ports and protocols affected is, we can look in here, it's port 21, TCP, is the TCP is the protocol, and it's port 21. You could say that. When was the plugin published? Okay, this is easier to find. Plugin details. This was published June 16th, 2015. And when was it last modified? August 31st, 2018. And what are the solutions and what will they achieve? And this is easy to find too because it says solution and upgrade it to Pro FTPD 135A or 136 RC1 or later. So you got to update. Cool. Okay, that's the important things. Tells you how to solve it. Okay, when was it created? Cool. But there you go. All right. A little bit about banner grabbing and what ZenMap does. Basically, they tools such as ZenMap and Nessus perform banner grabbing, gather information about a system, including the version numbers of software and services. It relies on loose-lipped systems. This is the idea that your stuff on your computer will just give information to anyone who asks. But sometimes they give out too much information. We did that a little bit in Unit 2. We were loose-lipped information on like errors when people browsed a website, was giving too much information on the errors and how to like limit how much information you give to someone who's browsing to like an restricted area, because you don't want to tell them like, oh, this is restricted, or like you found this door but it's locked. It's better just to say no, it doesn't work. Like you don't need to give outsiders too much information, but sometimes this can help if you're trying to search things. Like you need information, but there's sometimes a limit. You don't want like hackers to get it. So that's what they mean by that. Return to the MyScans page using the MyScans link on the left. So MyScans over here. And then the scan should be complete. We're done. We're going to save the scan in 3 ways. This is important to do. We're going to save it first as an executive summary. So executive summary. So we're going to click on the history tab. So we check this. Oh, wait, how do we do this again? You'll see the 3 different. Select the history tab and then select the checkbox next to your scan. Where's the history tab? Wait. Hi. The scan should be complete. Save the nested scan. You will save 3 different. Select the history tab and select the checkbox. Okay, whatever. Did I skip a step? Oh, do I have to? Oh, I click inside. History tab. There we go. All right, so checkbox next to your scan. We're going to be saving it. Upper right, do export HTML. It says this, go to HTML. And then you're going to save it as an executive summary. And we're going to download it as this file right here, Advanced Scan 1 Executive Summary. So just say export. Now we're going to rename. So they should download it in your lab. Oops, it's not done yet. And it should save it as this. I'm going to rename it because I'm going to say executive. That's what it suggests to do, right? Now we're going to do it as a custom. So export HTML, switch to custom. All right. Export HTML. I assume we're going to need these in future lessons. So just hit export. So it should do the same thing. We're going to download. I like clicking the arrow, go to say show in folder. Give it a second to finish. And then the last one's going to be raw Nessus. Let's just do all 3 at once. Raw Nessus, export Nessus, and downloads folder. So I can go, let's see, I can do this. And I'm going to go custom for this one. And then export, and then go Nessus. Should download a 3rd one. All right, cool. And again, show in the folder. I'll wait till it finishes. Oh, it did finish. I'm going to say this is going to be raw Nessus. I've got those 3 files. We want to save these onto your local machine, drag them to G guacamole right in here. You probably will need them for future lessons. I think you need some of those for later in this lesson, but I'm guessing you're going to need some in the next section. So I don't know why they would make me download them if I didn't. So download all 3 to your local machine. Make sure you save them somewhere. All right. We're going to close Nessus and the window with the Nessus report. We're done with this. Done with that. We're done with this. All right. So we have finished scanning. Now let's get into compromise. So we scanned. Now we know what was scanned. We found a potential vulnerability. We are going to try to use that vulnerability in ProFTPD to prove that it is a vulnerability. To show our people that hired us, hey, I got some information from you by hacking this. So we're going to use something called a security framework. So what is this? A framework is a series of defined processes used to test and expose the security protocols and are placed in a system. I think of it like a program, security program, but the program has just a bunch of different processes in it to test the security of the system. Okay, cool. A framework called Metasploit to pen test the water treatment facility and determine how resilient it is. Cool. So Metasploit's, this is a real tool. So this is you're learning how to do some kind of real stuff right here. And if you really got into a career like this, you might be using this tool. All right, so how does this work? So on Target Windows 01, let's launch a PowerShell. And we are going to go to MSFDB start. MSFDB start. So we're going to start that. And then to start the Metasploit service, type MSF console. Okay, that loaded up. So we're going to go to MSF console. So I'm going to close this. Okay, good. Now it resized right. Okay. You'll pen test the pump PLC host to see whether So this is going to start the console. Give it a second. You'll see it pop up. You'll pen test the Pump PLC host to see whether one of its services contain one or more vulnerabilities. Open the Quick Scan Plus report of Pump PLC you saved in your local machine. Remember that from the first lesson? Ah, maybe you don't. I forgot about it, and I was like, "Oh, I was like, I'm glad I saved that so I can pull up my Quick Scan Plus, and I can pull up my Quick Scan Plus. Hey, good thing I saved that in my downloads folder." You saved in local machine. The first open port listed is 21 TCP runs the FTP service. What's the name and version of the FTP service? So if you don't have it, there's the spoilers, but this was the information we saved before. It 21, that's the FTP, and it says the Pro FTP D135. And that's the version that's not good, that needs to be updated to 135A or whatever. Okay. So there you go. So if you didn't have it, whatever. You didn't need that. Quick scan. At the meta MSF prompt. Oh, because let's see what it looks like now. Oh, you can tell this is a hacker program because it uses this ASCII art to write Metasploit. Ooh. Yeah, real hacker stuff. So we're going to search for Pro FTPD. If we know, we've already done the scan, we already know that that's a potential issue. So I'm going to search for Pro FTPD. And I think what this does is search within Metasploit for exploits that can be used related to Pro FTPD. So you're searching Metasploit's like kind of like has a bunch of different frameworks, things it can use. So we're searching for this term to see what we can find. Builds a database, a cache of the information from the database. Searching, it might take a little bit to complete because it's got to search the whole system. But boom, there you go. These are all of the related. I can do that. Oh. Okay, so all the Pro FTP things, exploits it's got. So you'll notice, you'll now have an exploit running. Okay, so you'll notice in here, oh, we got a few Pro FTPD 132, 12, 132. But which one are we looking for? We're looking for the exploit related to 135 right here. Okay, so it has exploits for even older versions than the one on the system. So I want to use that one. And since that one is called exploit Unix FTP proto blah 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 exec, I want to use that one. So we're going to say use and then that exploit, and we're going to run it. So this, by doing that, it like uses that exploit. So I'm going to say use, and I'm going to copy this line, paste, and hit enter. Ooh, look, it says exploit, and it's in red. That means you know it's dangerous. Prompt changes to MSF exploit followed by, red text. Exploit corresponds to this plugin ID. So cool. Yep. So we're this is the one that we know we want to test. So we're ready to go. Now you have an exploit running, so you can begin to pen test Pump PLC. So we're already running this exploit. It's got the exploit is about like being able to get in the system. You remember the details about that when we explored it on the Nessus website and potentially change or view files. So now we have it running, we can begin like using that exploit to show. And so we got to see what options. So we can type show options in here. This is kind of like a Metasploit. Like, how do I do things in here? This will show you the options you need to set for this exploit. You need to set the R host to Pump PLC's IP address and site path to a directory. Okay, so we're just loading this exploit. Okay, we haven't used it yet. We're loading it, but now we need to configure all these things so that it attacks the right, Pump PLC's IP address and sets a few other options in here. Site path to a directory that can be modified or written to. That was the idea with that exploit. You can get access directories to modify. So, okay, cool. Well, do these two lines. So set our host to 10205. That's Pump PLC. So this our host has to be the target address. Set our host 10205. That sends it to Pump PLC. I want to see this again. If you do show options, now it says 10205, right? And then we're going to set the site path to -var triple dubs HTML. Set site path to var triple dub HTML. Okay, so notice it was var triple dub before, but if I get it now, it's HTML. Cool. All right. So how do I know those things? It's just telling you what to do. If you actually get experience, you'll get better at this stuff. So now that we've set this up, we have to type exploit and it'll run the exploit. Like a real hacker. That's how you do it in the movies, right? You just type exploit. They should have like the matrix colors coming on screen, like, ooh, green text. I look like a real hacker. Wish it did. Or like, like the just like Jurassic Park. You have the pop-ups come on. You have like skull and crossbones. Look like a real hacker. From the output, an experienced security expert can see what's happened with this meta exploit. So the command session should do this information. Okay, connected to the FTP server, sending copy commands, executing this, blah, blah, blah. Session opened. Okay. So it found the port containing the FTP service. It connected the service and delivered some files. And using that payload to gain access to the host, started a shell session on it, and is now awaiting your pentest commands. So you have a session like SSH, right? So I can go, who am I? And who am I tells you what user you're logged in. You're logged in as triple dub dash data. If you remember like the activity in like think 3.1 or so, we were looking at what are users on a server, and that was one of those like good users. So I'm logged in as that person now. Or it was like one of those default users. There's a few others on there too, right? Like about 6 or so. So it says I'm triple dub data. This confirms you're in the hacked environment in the web server user, as that's the web server user. Okay. So even I can do things like ls command, remember? And that lists all the files that are in my current directory. I can do pwd as print working directory. That's just which one I'm in right now. All those commands we learned, those Linux commands we learned before. But look, I get access to things like payroll and stuff. Awesome. Discover or verify host location of the network, you can use a command you already know, host name, and a new command, ifconfig. So if you want to know where you are on the network, ifconfig is a utility for managing the configuration of a computer's network interface card. That's the thing you're able to plug in. Got on your computer in the back, you plug in that network cable in the back there. There's a card in there. We call that the network interface card, NIC. It's just that physical device that will have like a MAC address, and it's basically the device that connects to the network, right? So we're going to do this by host name and IP address. So if you type host name, host name, your pump PLC, right? Okay, so that verifies my name. And now I'm going to try ifconfig eth0. And it said, hey, look, you can verify your IP address and the MAC address of the network card where you're on the network, all sorts of stuff. So you can confirm your name is host PLC, recognize I'm on 10205. Further confirm access. So you're doing stuff right now to confirm that, I'm really in your system, right? This is all part you would do in a report if you had a report to your whoever employed you to do this. To further confirm access, we're going to cat the password file. Oh, wow. So cat etc. Oh, did I type that in right? Pass. Oh, I didn't do the dash. So, look, this gets the file of all the logins and passwords to log in and every username on here. This might be a way to prove to the person hiring you that, hey, look, I got access to your username list. Yep, I exploited your system. You found a major vulnerability in your network. So step 39, this is part of our actually type in What were the effects of launching this exploit? Well, you kind of see it right there. I was able to get into the system. I was able to browse around. I was able to view files that I shouldn't have been able to do as an outsider. Like, I'm doing this, got in. They don't want me to get in, but I used that exploit to get in. And okay, Metasploit has all that. Like, how does the exploit work? Metasploit kind of like does it behind the scenes. We don't have to understand all the nitty gritty details because it's already been programmed in Metasploit because this is a known vulnerability. So there you go. What the ethical consequences and responsibilities? Like, you're a hacker here. Now that you found something, you're ethically responsible to report it to the people that hired you to be a pen tester for them. I mean, it would be unethical to take this information and give it to the dark web, post on there, say, hey, you can get access to this company. That'd be unethical. There you go. All right, we're done with Metasploit. We've proved it. We would document this. So we're going to quit with Control C. Okay, we can get out of here eventually and then type exit, blah, blah, blah. We're going to get out of here. So we're all done. We proved we are elite hackers. I'm just going to close. I'm just too lazy. Not going to close it off, right? Don't care. Last step, remediation. So now that we've proven this vulnerability, we have to close it up. You work with your team to remediation. We want to save the system. So a few things that are here. The recommendation was just to update it, right? But you can't always just update right away because sometimes that process takes days or weeks. But you're like, I can update my computer anytime. Just download the update and restart the system, right? Well, maybe if this is an important server and you don't want to restart the system because that's going to interrupt business services. So you got to find a time that you can run it. Or maybe it just takes a long time to run it. You have to do this update on all the servers or all computers in the network. Maybe it's not just one server. Maybe you got to check a few things. So it might take some more time, or they just have to find a good time to do it. So you might not just say, oh, run the update right now. No. But what you can do is you can configure the firewall to just do like a temporarily like stop that exploit from happening. So until the update can be run. So that's what we're going to work on right now. So how does this work out? And this gets confusing. We're going to join us your cyber team now in step 41 right here. We are going to configure the firewall to stop these issues. Now we're going to do some IP tables command. You're like, what? We're going to, and a few questions I'm going to ask you first. The IP tables command, we're like, these were notes we did in 324, and like we used IP tables to do a lot of things. You remember this. And that's why I took a bunch of notes right here, because you're going to have to go back to this. All right. Note, remember, honestly, I forgot to. I had to look up the answers. But I'm going to walk you through it right now. So a few things to remember from the notes we took last time. How do you designate the protocol used by FTP and SSH? So how do you designate when you're using those protocols here? Well, you go back to our notes. Configure this. Okay, so whenever you want to use the protocol would be this -p thing here. So you have to have this -p flag. That's what they're saying. And you do -p TCP. Because the protocol is TCP for FTP and SSH. You -p TCP. What's the port designation for FTP and SSH? So how to designate the port for FTP and SSH? Well, where did we do that? So let's look in here. This is where the D port thing happens. So I do /D port SSH or /D port FTP, like in this example. Those designate the SSH or FTP ports. How do you establish the source of inbound traffic for each device? So source was a different flag. Source is going to be, if you looked at what we did before, and this is the first use of it, -S. So -S stands for source, and you can type the IP address. So if the source of this should be whatever. So maybe you can specify for your flag. For each service, you -S. What's the general policy you want to create? So one other thing is you want to You only want to allow certain types of traffic, and you want to block all other types of traffic. So that general policy would be this one right here. So remember, this is kind of like we created all these inputs rules that said, okay, these are okay, but then this one is like everything else, drop it. So this one will say everything that we don't explicitly allow, drop it. It'll block all traffic not explicitly allowed. This would be the like you have those other rules, and then you have this rule to catch everything else. Say nope. So we're only specifically allowing. So what we'll do is here we'll say, okay, to protect that computer, we'll only allow SSH traffic to come from maybe like target Windows 01. So only that one can log in. And FTP should only come between the pump PLC and pump monitor. So no FTP traffic can come from like outside the network or even outside or even come from like target Windows 01. So it's a way to protect us a little bit more. All right. Yep. So that's what I would say with those kind of things. Now, from target Windows 01, we're gonna put those exploits in. Or I'm gonna walk you through how to do this. Oh, then denote which IP tables commands to use. You know what? That's so stupid. Like this is hard to figure out. So I'm gonna just give you all the answers right here because I had to look this up. Like I kind of so list okay rules to use for remediation. So here's the list of rules order. I mean, this is just spoilers from. This is without answers here. I don't know how you figure this one out. And I'm just gonna. Here's the order of things I'm gonna type stuff in. Actually, I'm gonna put a space, and then I'll explain what all these do. You could probably do it a little different if you're doing this on your own, but this is very similar to what we did in 324. I just think it's very hard to understand. I don't think we've had a lot of practice with it. So here's the order. Why is there only a sudo right here and there's no other sudos? I don't know. They all should require sudo because that's what we did before. So really, you should have a sudo everywhere. Yeah. So here's how the rules are going to work. Okay, well, I'll walk through one at a time. From target Windows 01, we're going to connect to pump PLC. So go to connection. We're going to pump PLC. Pump PLC. Oh, we got to log in. Vagrant. Pump PLC. Implement your IP tables rules to mitigate the ProFTP's exploit. Don't forget to use sudo. So verify the remediation work. So, okay, we're in. So I'm going to do these one at a time. So the first one, this input, what this will do is, and just like we did last time, the first command will clear all the existing rules. Okay, so maybe we want to look at this. We did this first last time just to see the current list of rules. You don't have to, but I'm gonna do it. Fun. Then you right click after doing that. So those are the current rules. We're like, whoa, that's too many rules. I want to delete everything and start over. This like opens up all the ports. You're like, no, we got to lock this down. So we can do this one will flush the rules right here. -F. So I'm going to do a -F. And there we go. And after we do that -F, we do the -L. Notice there's no rules left. Got rid of everything. All right. Our next rule that we want to do is we're going to do this thing right here. Now, what does this do? This will allow like this is weird. So this was the one where like, oh, if multiple connections try to do FTP or SSH at the same time, that it allows them to go to different ports under the same rules. I don't even think this one's super important for what we're doing this class, but sure. Because why would you have multiple in the same? So you do that one. Cool. But now, okay, so now we want to have the rule to allow SSH traffic. Okay. So the rule for SSH traffic we did last time, it was this one right here. So this allowed all SSH works. And you need to have this rule to make sure, um, yeah, we can actually get into this. Oops. I'm going to delete and paste and right click. Boom. It allows the SSH traffic. Notice, and if you want to see that old list, I have that rule now on there. Both those rules on there. Okay, both rules are on there. Okay, so my next one I want to do is I want to allow FTP traffic, but only from pump monitors. So SSH, we have to let anyone able to come in, right? We have to basically only gonna be from type Windows 01. But FTP, we only want to have from pump monitor. So if I do this one, this is going to say, hey, create an input TCP. It's an FTP, but only from the source of 06, which is pump monitor. And I say accept that. Okay. So I can paste and right click and accept on my list. If I want to verify it's on the list still, I can do that. Okay, my next one, I want to deny all other traffic. So this one right here, we'll say, hey, because we want to drop everything else. This is like the general policy right here, input drop. We're going to be doing that. It says everything else don't work. Okay. And then, okay, so we drop that. So verify. Yeah. So how this went from accept everything by default to drop everything by default. So anything that wasn't explicitly allowed, drop it. Now, the other commands I had on here that I copied, I've been doing -L all the time to verify, but this will verify that everything is on there, which I just did. And then you want to run this command to save, which is the same thing we wrote right up here to save. Sudo IP. So you're going to do that. And then saves everything we just did. Good. Now that we have that, and if we want to see it all again, those commands were dropped. TCP is SSH is in there. Oh, what happened to the FTP thing? Oh, it's right here. Duh. All right. So we've done this. Confirm that you did not remove any operational function. Verify the remediation. So we can test meta exploit again and it wouldn't work. I don't want to bother. Trust me. Lazy. Confirm you do not remove other functionality. So you can SSH and FTP to pump PLC. I mean, it still works right now. I'm still SSH'd into it, so we're still good. If you want to, you can just press again and go grant. Oh, it still works. So we're done. Answer those conclusion questions. That's it, folks. You did this lesson.